Hello. First off, I'm gonna apologize for my scraggliness. I didn't have a chance to shave yet. I didn't realize it was that bad. I'm looking at it, I'm just like, I probably should have shaved. I'm gonna need you to light on fire for me. Sorry, I'm going to, light some sage while I sit here and talk today. I always feel hypocritical talking about this stuff because I talk about it as I learn about it. And sometimes that's the best way, and sometimes it's just a way for me to process also. It's kind of like, I'm learning something, or I get a download, and then talking about it in the video is almost kind of like the completion of the cycle, processing it. Plus, it's helpful for you. Maybe something I say is also helpful. I seem to have this knack of, let's put that in the coffee cup for now, breaking down information for people. Because I have to break it down for myself. In fact, here's a free lesson. They say if you really want to learn something, learn it like you're going to teach it to someone, even if you're not going to. Because it forces you to break it down. This is just knowledge you can find anywhere. If you want to truly learn how to learn something, you got to learn how to learn. Whatever way works for you. Just because that's one way doesn't mean that's your way. Anyways, back to the topic at hand here. So we've been talking about peeling open layers and kind of referencing future Adam. Also, random tangent, we're going to address this really fast. Whenever I try to edit something, or the software I have is not good, and it tends to crash, and I don't have money to buy a new one. Plus, I tend to wait to upload these videos anyways. So I will record it, maybe I'll record one or two, and then I wait a few hours, I relax, I take a break, I do something else, and then I totally forget what the message was about. Or I forget to do it. I don't write a note, I forget. So I know there's been a few videos I've already said that and totally blanked and didn't follow through on the edit. So I do apologize, things are a little weird right now. I would like to try to be more consistent. Once I actually get a setup home base, like a more consistent setup, because right now I don't even have a computer desk. Once I get a better consistent, I will start actually following through on the editing and stuff like that. Back to the actual message. Something I've been learning to do is healthily express emotions. Yeah, it's been a pain. We're going to talk about one of my other mental illnesses I just discovered. Hopefully the fan's not going to be too loud. It's a little warm in my car. Sorry, guys. I'll just talk louder. Even on the lowest setting should be okay. Anyways, there's a difference, by the way. I just found out I have, personality disorder. Yay. Now there's a difference. I had always assumed that meant identity disorder. Oh, that felt good. So apparently there's a distinction. What I've experienced, I don't know if it's the same thing. Maybe I'm not actually a psychologist or any kind of PhD. I don't have a doctorate. I don't have anything. I'm just explaining what I have been experiencing. And what I've discovered is I had personality disorder. What that was, I didn't realize it, obviously, at some point. What it was for me on my end was emotional regulation issues. I didn't realize I was being a different person, so to say. The person apparently experiencing on the other end, it was like almost bipolar times 2 is the best way to explain it. I could be in one mood, and then something triggers me into another mood, and it's not just a mood, it's like I'm a completely different version of me. Not a whole different person, but like a different, so say, the best way to explain it, is the way I think about it, there's an episode of Teen Titans, where they do something to one of the characters who's psychic, and it causes her to go inside of her mind. And inside of her mind, she actually has 6 different colors, 6 different personalities. And each of them are represented by colors. And each of them are represented by emotions. So essentially, she is divided up into 7 different emotions. There's happy Raven, sad Raven, angry Raven, and so on and so forth. That is basically personality disorder. It's all the same person, but it's a completely different personality. You talk to the funny one, she likes jokes. You talk to the sad one, she hates everything. Same body, different people. But it's still me. It's just, on my end, the emotional regulation went out the window, and instead of being in my body, I was essentially being controlled by my emotions. So you got to see like almost a whole different version. Now back a couple of years ago, like, okay, I say a couple, 7, 8, 9 years, I actually did have a roommate who had a identity disorder. She actually had different names. They told me this like months after living there. I'm just like, okay. Just slowly learning the kind of crazies my roommates are. That's cool. I'm crazy too, so I can't really, I was gonna say relate, but I can't relate. But she actually did acknowledge like they had different names. Like her name was, Jessica, and there was another name, Mary or something, and she would say she actually blacks out and is unconscious of this. I don't know. I was a little skeptical at the time, and I just think she was using it as a scapegoat. But after seeing her trauma, it is completely possible. Like I said, I just came to terms that I'm personality disorder. So going back to that Russian T-doll episode, saying how we're stripping away layers, the reason people typically don't want to do that is because they come to terms with crap like that. I say crap because I'm not exactly thrilled. It's cool that I can diagnose it and be like, alright, well, this is something I not necessarily have to deal with, just acknowledge and kind of process and do. But from spiritual aspect, you can heal it in a sense, because there are some of them that aren't necessarily, it's basically what that is literally a fractured self. Because I couldn't regulate my emotions, the emotions took over, and basically, I was anger. There's no separation. And it actually developed into a full-blown, like, Adam's in a mood. Anger mood, like, he reacts this way now, and da-da-da, and anything he likes, he no longer likes, kind of stuff like that. But there's a way to heal that and actually unfracture yourself and basically bring your energies back. I did that because of trauma-based life. Like I said, I'm not exactly a psychiatrist or whatever. It's just the way I'm learning of some of these things is like I'll hear information and it just pops up. And I go, why do I resonate with that? Why does that sound familiar? Shit, let's do research. Okay. Yep. Same way I figured out I was autistic. It's like, bro. So peeling away the layers is daunting. Because now I have to rest, and instead I'm sitting here doing this video. This is a form of rest. I'm enjoying this. I need to get up and move from time to time, so I'm not going to dog on myself too much. Plus, if I don't get these ideas out of my head, they do just kind of swim around a bit. Until finally I'm like, alright, word vomit, let's do this. So, we're going to actually talk about how to safely express emotions. Because essentially what's happening to me now is I am having to go back and process and express these emotions that were trapped. Growing up, I was not allowed to feel emotions. And that sounds kind of wild, but I've said it in a few videos, and the way it worked was that's what I learned. Basically what that means is my parents didn't have emotional regulation themselves. In fact, my dad also had personality disorder. I didn't know that's what it was. I just thought he had a really bad temper. Which That's also part of it. Anyways, we're not psychologically diagnosing my father here. I don't care. Things are degrounding me. 1 second. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I'm processing the emotions in my current state. Because what happens is you bottle them up. Oh, okay, now I remember what I was saying. So I personally was not allowed to. My parents couldn't emotionally regulate themselves. Gotta slow down. So their nervous systems were already on fire. So then they were not in a position to be able to essentially take care of kids. But they did anyways. And that left us emotionally neglected, emotionally needy. And I was never taught how to properly process emotions because they couldn't do it, they couldn't teach me. For example, anytime my anger flared up and I flipped out and had a tantrum, I guess, he would flip out and scream at me, ironically, saying, "You have anger issues, you need to go to therapy." While he's literally like screaming this at me. Even on a good day, if I'm having a good, like, I'm happy, I'm being energetic, it gets to the point he says, "Shut up, you can't, like, you're annoying," essentially. So that gets shut down. And then crying, I used to cry like I'm disabled. My mom would actually look at me and say, "Hey, how about we go to the hospital and show you people with real problems, so I stop being sad." I emotionally got cut off. I was not allowed to feel. So I turned into a robot and stuffed it and stuffed it and stuffed it. Until finally, of course, eventually you just blow up. Something bad would happen, you get screamed at, and the loop would just continue. So I never truly learned how to actually process emotions. And that is something I've been working on now. Essentially, I just turned them off. And that did nothing good for me. So now I'm going through and actually plucking them out, and I'm working on it. For instance, the shadow work. Sometimes you have to meditate, sometimes just digging into your memory. Sometimes the memories just pop up. As you're kind of cleansing your chakra and processing and working, sometimes it just naturally pops up. Because as you're clearing your mind, it's like, it's kind of like that scene from the Avatar, and if you haven't seen it, imagine a river or something, a bog, and there is a blockage of seaweed or something. And it's cutting off circulation here, and it, basically, you knock one little bar loose, one little area, and it actually starts moving the energy. So some emotions would just surface. I'll just be driving, all of a sudden, I miss my dog. I'm just like, what the hell? Well, I never processed it. I basically, once again, got told, "Hey, this sucks, sorry, bye. You don't get to be sad." I'm just like, okay. And I would live just like that. In fact, it actually scared the shit out of my dad. I don't know why I'm being so vulnerable. Again, maybe it's just something I need to process. This could be for other people too. But there was one very scary moment, and I didn't realize it until now. I had shut down to the point by the time I was 14. Oh, this one's a heavy one, I can feel it. My stepmom, everyone's got their problems, You can't really judge them. But it's definitely traumatic to see. My parents had a fight, and my stepmom locked herself in the bathroom with a knife carving into her legs. My dad bawling and screaming and punching the doors down. Luckily, both my sisters got to be out of the house. And little 14-year-old me sitting on the couch trying to watch TV. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have friends. Even if I go to my bedroom, I still hear them screaming. I just don't have a TV. So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So I'm just going to sit here and try to watch TV and just tune it out. Well, I got to the point some firemen actually came in and kicked down the door. And there was one on each side literally dragging her out, kicking and screaming. And my dad literally walks up to me, bawling his eyes out, and goes, "How are you not affected by this?" I literally just... I was so emotionally shut down by that point. I didn't care. I could have been sent to the loony bin. It wouldn't have fazed me. So now, at my current stage, as I'm clearing out the energy, it's flooding. It's flooding. I don't actually necessarily get to filter it. So now it's like, okay, well now you get to feel emotions, so now you get to process them. Oh, you're watching TV? Just kidding. Now you're crying because you miss your dog. It's like, am I going crazy? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So then how do you actually process these emotions? Most of them are pretty easy. Obviously, you don't really need to process joy. Mainly just want to process the stuck emotions. As I've always talked about in many different videos, our nervous system is a crystalline structure, and it saves energy like data. Every time I stuffed data down, I stuffed my emotions down, it got bottled up. And then we all know that analogy. You shake it. I imagine more like a trash bin, though. It's like you keep filling up the trash bin until eventually it overflows and gets everywhere and you explode and break something. Like, you get home from school and you whip your backpack into your bedroom window. And $300 later. Emotional regulation was not my strong suit. So, all the broken Xbox controllers. Fuck's sake. Anyways. It's because I was never taught how. Like I said, I couldn't see it in my parents. I never learned, you know? So how do you process them? Sad, crying. Typically what you want to do is set aside a safe space. Because I have noticed, and it's something I struggle with, is I could be up at McDonald's, and this actually did happen. And sometimes there's not even a story. Sometimes there's just emotions bubbling up. So sometimes I just start crying. I'm just like here, and I'm just like, I just start crying. No reason. Just processing emotions. Processing the energy flowing through my body. And you do your best not to stop it. But again, there are certain situations that obviously a grown 32-year-old man sitting at McDonald's crying would be a little awkward. So I stuff the emotions. I can't process them now. But then that becomes a problem where I get home, it's like, all right, emotions. And they're gone. Okay. Come back later. So essentially what you want to do is develop a safe space where you can actually train your nervous system that it's safe to be here. That it's safe to process, like, one of the things I like to do is a bathtub. A bath. I like to take a bath. It doesn't have to be feminine. You don't need candles. You don't need scented. Just a warm bath. It allows you to really focus your mind, center yourself. Sometimes, people don't even mention this, I cast spells in my tub. Water is an energy amplifier. So sometimes I will actually cast a spell, like something to bubble up emotions. And then I sit in the bathtub, fill it with salt, and that'll actually be a spiritual aspect on how to cleanse out emotions. That doesn't get rid of them. It just helps them bubble up. So then it processes them and knocks the energy loose. You still gotta process that shit, and it sucks. But it's better than keeping it stuck. Basically, anything that caused movement physically, spiritually, or energetically. What I mean is, kind of calling back to another video I don't even remember anymore. We had talked about cleaning. Kind of helping, like, you know how you clean, it kind of declutters your mind too. It's like, say you have a cloudy apartment. I was going to say cloudy apartment. Cluttered. Say you have a cluttered apartment, and it just feels stuffy, stifling. You cluttered and claustrophobic, and I get claustrophobic, so you get to the point, you clean up, you just naturally feel better. Well, it is actually reflection in a sense of you. So like how do I explain this? Spirit, help me explain this in a way, because it makes sense visually, but I can't audibly. So let's say your space, your apartment, your car is essentially a reflection of you. That makes sense. You put up decorations you like, you decorate it the way you want, you buy things that you like. So it essentially almost becomes you. So now let's start getting a little metaphysical. So that you version, oh, that does turn it off. That you version is now a version of you inside outside. It's like the outside matches the inside kind of thing, if that makes sense. So if you start letting it get cluttered and becoming lethargic, you start feeling cluttered and lethargic. But if your apartment's clean and nice and healthy, you tend to feel more loose, more energetic, more healthy. So the space around you tends to reflect your mentality too. So cleaning your apartment, clearing the energy, that's why throwing away and excess stuff is the same thing. It's not a simple act of revenge or vengeance. It's this energetically reminds me I can't look at it without thinking or feeling or seeing this person. And if it is a negative influence and energetic anchor, then you typically want to get rid of it. I mean, there's ways to appreciate gifts. That doesn't mean you have to tank everything your ex ever gave you. There are ways to clear their energy if you want, like sage and stuff like that. And you can do rituals to clean the energy and detach from it, so you can still have the object and not think of the person. There's a way to do that. I've done that sometimes, but I'm also paranoid and toss some of it because people can still use it as an energetic link to you. So say, for instance, I hex something and I give it to you. Now it's an energetic link. It's almost like letting a vampire in your home to a witch. A magical item can be an energy drainer. So, just kind of all over the place with this message here. So, it's almost like a witch bug, kind of, you know. So processing the emotion, anything to get the energy moving. Let's say dancing, where I was going to bring up the rituals. Anytime what came to mind was the, I don't even think this is right, but the Aborigines tribes, how they still do native dances. It's like in their culture. It's just fun. A lot of Indian cultures too. They have native dances. At certain events. Rituals, same thing. I mean, every culture does. We all have dances that we go to at certain events and stuff like that. It's a specific energy. It produces energy. So it gets you into a specific flow. So basically anything that gets the energy moving, working out. Exercise. That gets you going. It gets you moving. It gets the energy flowing. So it's not just to keep your body healthy, it's to keep everything functioning, flowing. But then there are certain things that are a little more difficult to process. Anger has been a bad one for me. Because of course, you know, being young and a child who couldn't self-regulate, I would lash out, as any kid does. Most people do. You don't even have to be a kid to do that. I mean, I met most adults. Anger, I'm not even going to be ashamed anymore. Anger seems to be quite prevalent in our culture, okay? People are just angry these days. You don't have to have anger issues to be angry. I have met so many people out there that just go 0 to 60 and you're like, yo, dude, whoa. But I can't judge them because I've been in the same boat. So then, because we don't know how to self-regulate and process, we lash out and take it out on people. That's how car crashes, stuff like that. We get hit, we get in the moment, we don't regulate, and we each get into a fight, normally. That's what I typically see. There are some people who are nice. It's just like, well, fuck. But that's how things escalate. So how do you process it? I mean, again, as long as you get the energy out in a healthy way. Again, anger for me is difficult because you hurt things or you hurt yourself. You gotta punch a pillow. But sometimes that doesn't feel... I'm gonna be honest. Part of me wants destruction. I want that satisfaction, that release. It's like I don't feel like I got it out unless something actually does break. And that sounds absolutely psychotic. But I don't know, something about that release, the final... Instead of me breaking, let that break, please. So I noticed that emotion, so I would typically take a bottle or something I don't care about and typically be like, okay, I need to release this emotion, and I would go break it. But unfortunately, that gets to be a pretty expensive habit. Like I said, a lot of Xbox controllers. Those things are not cheap. I don't do that anymore. I don't even have an Xbox. Like I said, you get into adulthood and you're like, oh my god, this sucks, stop breaking things. Just figure out how to process it later. It's just too expensive to do it now. So process it, but shit, stop breaking stuff. So you start emotionally regulating, and it's so hard. Rewiring your nervous system. But again, the issue is not suppressing it. You have to be angry. You have to allow yourself to be angry. And one of my biggest issues is being angry. I hate it. I hate it. I hate the feeling. I hate it how it feels. Sharing a story. I essentially scare myself because I'm scared of my dad, or used to be. We used to be terrified of him, you know. He used to occasionally be physical, but mostly just screaming and yelling, luckily. But there was physical contact. So we were essentially scared of my dad. And of course, how do you be around that without learning it or picking it up? You essentially become it. So I didn't have a chance in hell. Then I realized it one day, because my sister had the same look I had one day, and I was like, fuck. I don't like it. So I actually locked it up and I stopped myself from feeling anger at all. I'm like, look, I break stuff, I don't like people being reactive around it, and my dad screams at me and tells me it's not okay to be angry, so we're gonna shut it down completely. But then of course it just gets pent up. So now that it's all pent up, even if I'm not even angry now, it's like it's still in my system, lurking. And you notice in certain behaviors, certain reactions, like you could be perfectly fine out of nowhere, you just get spiked and your mood shifts and you're just like, nee! Well, that knee feeling, that trigger is the old pattern resurfacing, trying to express itself to get out of your system. Well, the funny thing is, as I get to a point, I have been expressing it, you don't have to deal with that pattern anymore. You break it. As you express it and let the emotions play out, you break the pattern. I have become less reactive, which is kind of more of a challenge because I still have some energy left. And like I can feel it. And ironically, and I like to joke and say the universe puts me in situations to make me angry so I can express the anger. I don't know if that's true, and I'm just actually getting picked on, who knows. I'm just kidding, the universe doesn't pick on you. Definitely feels like it some days. Ass. But, something will happen. Something will happen. Like, say I get cut off or something, a usual trigger, and it just doesn't trigger me. And I was like, alright, well, gotta express this emotion. Gotta express this emotion somehow. So, I would try to force it. I'd go pull off somewhere and scream. Just yell in my car. Well, then sometimes it just felt hollow, and I was forcing it. I'm just like, alright, now I'm just kind of yelling. I don't actually feel angry, I'm just yelling. So it's not really doing anything. Except hurting my throat. So you make the safe space. You can go meditate. That tends to happen. That's one of the things I've been finding has been helping. Is actually I'm finding YouTube videos that are somatic, which is I don't know the actual definition, but basically it's in the body. Basically, somatic means body. So it's body meditations, and you find the right one. It actually kind of helps you, and if you follow the breath work, and you can actually physically feel the emotions expressing. Or certain music. I've noticed not all people, but there are some people who actually get feelings from music. Like you can physically feel it in your body. It spikes emotions. Or for instance, you have that sad song you maybe listen to with your ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, ex-partner, and you can't listen to it without crying. Well, that's controlled therapy. Listen to it. Apparently, it's getting time to cut out because my voice is cutting out. But, that's therapy. You listen to it and cry to express the emotions. Because the lesson B, at some point, I believe the saying is, you know you're healed when you no longer feel. It's not that you emotionally went numb, it's all the emotions came out. So say, for instance, maybe someone who used to make me mad, make you mad. And then you express the anger, you let it go, you whatever. You process it. Then they come up to you and try to poke you again, and you're just like, yeah. You cool, bro. Have a good day. And you've processed it. They're just like, well, what the hell happened to him? It's actually kind of funny. So essentially, as long as you get movement, kind of like how you did when you were a kid, and throw a temper tantrum. Now, I'm not a parent, so don't take parental advice from me. There's actually no proof that I even know what the hell I'm talking about. But when kids throw temper tantrums and they throw themselves on the ground and they're like, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's them expressing their anger. Typically, what you're actually supposed to do is let them tire themselves out. Let them express it. Because then when they're done, you hit a point of receptivity where you're just like, I feel nothing. It's not bad. I feel nothing. I feel weird. That's because you expressed all the emotion and it kind of just slowly, it's like a bump that pops back out. It's weird, but it's like, it's like a groove in the sand. The shovel digs in, you dig it out, you process, and then the water comes in and just kind of fills it back in, but this time it's with cleaner sand almost. So you process it, you feel better, you feel almost more whole, I guess is the best way to explain it. So at some point there is actually an emotional dip where you're like, why do I feel nothing? Am I broken? What happened? And we think that's depression, but that's just you processing it. Well, after kids throw their temper tantrums, they hit that point. They tire themselves out and they're like, alright, I'll listen now. So you're essentially supposed to let them do that. Now, if they're physically hurting themselves or hitting other people, might, I don't know. Might need to intervene at that point, but again, I'm not a parent. So, as long as you can express it. Now, a lot of people do it through their art. I can't express my anger through my art anymore as much. If I'm angry while I'm drawing, it actually screws up the process. For me, it's better if I'm in a positive flow. I just can't express anger through my art anymore. Like I said, I feel like my anger is destruction. Something, some kind of final release. But I can process sadness into artwork. That's a little different. But you can be dancing angry. You can do an angry dance. Like I said, you know how the kids throw the temper tantrums and flail their fists? Well, that's the same thing. So instead of dancing because you're happy, maybe stomping. Stomping a lot tends to be a good grounding method. Like you see in TV, you know how people actually come out of the bedroom and crr, 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 and they're just stomping through the house. Well, that actually feels good. That actually releases emotions. When you get told to stop it, you're like, meow, me, me, me. You're like, knock it off. We can hear you downstairs. I'm like, oh, fuck off. So that's actually a healthy way. Find somewhere you can do it without disturbing anyone, hurting anyone's feelings. Go to the gym. Punch bags. I would totally do that. I need to sign up for a gym membership that I can actually cancel because they're scrupulous. You gotta go to a gym and just hit a punching bag. And if you can't summon emotions, try to think of something that does. Like they say, kind of like in baseball, there was always a visualization training where you visualize the ball as someone you don't like. And it helps you focus. You focus your anger. It causes you to think and, really pack a punch. Because that's just how human psychology works. So sometimes thinking of something, not necessarily the act of wanting to harm them, just the act of the emotions. That's what you need to focus on. So think of a situation, kind of like Harry Potter. I don't know for any of those. I feel like there's a lot more people who watch Harry Potter. But there's that scene where I think it's the Prisoner of Azkaban. I believe that's number 4. Number 4 is the Goblet of Fire. Hold on, I'm going to be stuck on Harry Potter for a minute now. Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, I don't remember. Goblet of Fire, Prisoner of Azkaban. Deathly Hallows, I think that's number 6. I only read through number 4. Anyways. Regardless, in the movie, or in the book, there's a scene where Harry has to fight off something called a Dementor. And it's like super high monster dark magic. And the dark magic teacher at the time teaches him to use high level emotions. It's like you have to think of something that puts you in a really, really good mood, that really sparks you. Something that makes you feel bliss and peace. And he goes, okay, and he tries and he gets his butt kicked. He's like, what'd you think of, boy? Like, the first time I rode a broom, he goes, you twit, that's not strong enough. He goes, okay, I'll try again. And he tried it again and he blasted him. He goes, well, what'd you think of? My parents. Well, his parents are dead. So it's the only memory he could remember. Pure bliss, pure connection, pure happiness. And it overrode the darkness. Where is this going? My mind's been a little, I'm not completely grounded, but I had to do this anyways. Like I said, this has been a process for me. Let's see if there's anything else that wants to come out. I've been talking for a long time. Processing emotions. Yeah, as long as you get some kind of form of movement. Oh, that's weird. Some kind of form of movement. I'm sorry, I'm spacing out here. Whether it be shaking, whether it be, some people even say just shake your hands, do a little jig. Anything to move your body. Because, for instance, how do you dance and not feel happy? Again, you could start an angry dance and end up feeling good. But anyways, I think I'm officially going to cut it. We're done. Just trying to make sure, see if there's anything else that needs to come out. Well, I guess that's it. We'll call it here. You'll have a great day. I'm done.